まるでおとぎの話終わり迎えた証長すぎる旅路から切り出した一節それはかつてこの地に影を落とした悪を打ち取りし勇者との短い旅の記憶
Hello everyone, today we'll be unboxing another figurine for the week. Here we have is two figurines in collaborations with studios Madhouse and DesignCOCO. Is two figurines from the manufacturers DesignCOCO and Madhouse. Is a 1/7 scale PVC figure of the character Frieren and a 1/7 scale PVC figure of the character Fern. Anime Anniversary Edition from the series葬送のフリーレンor Frieren Beyond Journey's End. As always, before we take the figurines out of their packaging, just in case you didn't know,葬送のフリーレン or Frieren Beyond Journey's End is a manga serialized in Shogakukan's Weekly Shonen Sunday, written by two authors, story by Kanehito Yamada and art by Abe Tsukasa in 2020. There's also a light novel adaptation that's like a prequel to the series, Shosetsu Sousou no Frieren Zenso, or Frieren Beyond Journey's End Prelude novel, published in 2024, with illustration by Abe Tsukasa like the manga and story Hachimoku-mei. There's also an anthology manga released in 2023 by the name Sousou no Frieren Ansoroji or Frieren Beyond Journey's End Anthology, The Magic of Enjoying a Different Journey, that include different stories by different mangakas, and those mangakas are Yamaguchi Kazumi, Kasan, Jonah, Igarashi Soichi, and Miura Ren. So going back to the original story, the manga has gotten an anime adaptation going by the same name, Sousou no Frieren, released in 2023 by Studios Madhouse, consisting of 28 episodes, and there's also a mini ONA by Toho Animation Studios. There's also a season 2 set to release in 2026 by Studios Madhouse. So as you can see here, this is the Anime Anniversary Edition that comes with both Frieren and Fern, that you can also buy separately if you choose. So these are their box rotating in 360, so as always, enough holding you guys back. So let's take out Frieren and Fern out of their box and see how they look. But we're gonna first start with Frieren. So as you can see here, this is Frieren's figurine right out of her packaging. As you can see here, she is wrapped with plastic to protect the figurine from, getting any scratches or scrapes during transit. So this is actually a top layer, and there's also a bottom layer. So I think you can kind of see it there. The bottom layer has the large brown goldish type ring around it. So you can see it's also wrapped with plastic. So let's just remove all of this and get a better look of it. So as you can see here, just like I think Mega House, they don't really give you an instructions guide or assembly instructions guide here. They give you a sheet of paper which gives you a QR code to their website to get an assembly instructions guide, which they do have for language: simplified Chinese, regular Chinese, English, and in Japanese. So you can see here, I did put a snapshot here of the actual assembly instructions guide here, where this is in English for my main English audience. As you can see here, you kind of see the base, Frieren, you connect, then the staff, and then the large ring. And on the other end, you do get this piece section here where you do connect both of them, and then you connect both the rings together with an LED light up that's sold separately. But besides that, there's not really much else to show you. So here we have is Frieren's base. But before we continue on looking at the bottom of the base, we do have here is text here at the bottom. Just like every other figurine, you do get is the creators of the story, such as the author. You see the title of the show and other information of the figurine. And just like I stated before, the bottom is actually a clear blue like plastic. So because I guess it's a light up feature, and you can see here on the side where you put the little plastic to put the large ring around it. And it's also cut in half because when you do buy it, you can also connect it to Fern's base. So we can see it's large crystal shards which are translucent. As you can see, you can kind of see like my finger around behind it. And here's a close-up shot of the base. You can see the golden ring around it, which is just like a little design pattern, which looks pretty neat. And on the top we have this almost like a watery like effect here, and it's also, like I said, translucent. So I guess because you could put it on the bottom, you could put a light that can shine the whole base, but that is also sold separately. Again, the crystal structures here are actually translucent as well. You can see the inserts to put Frieren's feet on, or her boots. You can see the little pegs on the top here. But besides that, it looks actually pretty well sculpted, as you can see here. I wonder how they actually make this. I wonder if they mold like a mold and they like put epoxy in it. I wonder, or is it just actual plastic? Well, it feels more plastic than like an epoxy material, but besides that, it still looks pretty neat. It's quite reflective, but besides that, there's not really much else to show you with this base. So here we have is the large ring structure that you do get that goes around the base. As you can see here, there's actually a pattern around it. So I'm not really certain if this is actual like text in the story. I think this is just a random pattern that they put around it, but if it is text, try to correct me on that because I'm not really certain. I was more focused on the story than the background stuff. But yeah, you do get this pattern shape around this giant ring here. And it's quite detailed actually. You can kind of see like almost like a little star. The paint on the inside is, there's nothing really on the inside, but it is painted as well. But besides this large ring, do be careful because it's quite flexible, but it does, I feel like you could damage it. Here is this little white acrylic here that you do put, or you connect underneath the base. And you put the ring on top of it, and I don't think it actually holds the ring in place. It is just like this. You just place it on and it just lays like that, but it doesn't really firmly get stuck to it, so it could fall. So just be careful when you do place this onto it, or if you place it on and move it around. So here we have is Frieren, her actual figurine, or the main focus, and I can say her face looks really well painted. But before we get to there, here we have is her boots here at the bottom. You can kind of see they did add a little bit of detailed creases here on her, like where her joints should bend. You can see a little bit of creases on her boots. The paint job looks somewhat decent. There's not really much detail they put on the bottom because that's where you connect the insert pegs into. You can see it does have two lines, and there's a little bit of like a left and right label on it, but it's not really too much. I feel like they could have maybe added a little bit more detail with the boots, but that's just probably me being a little bit nitpicky. But here going up, we see is we have her leggings here. You can kind of see they're just black. There's not too many details here like they did with the boots. I feel they could add a little bit of crease lines by her legging areas. But again, that could just be nitpicky on me. Here's the bottom. You can kind of see here they painted her underwear there, I guess black, the same thing as her leggings. You can see the sculpt here on her around her frills here, going around, waving, because she's in like almost like a float motion. So you can see her skirt here is actually like flowing with the wind. Here's a closer shot of that bottom, or since it's in her entire dress, I guess you can call it a dress, but you can kind of see they did add this detailed sculpt with the creases around her fabric here, which looks quite realistic. It gives it like a realistic feel to it, but it's actually just plastic. And the frills here are quite flat. It's just like a light darkish goldish type paint, which I feel like again could have been a little bit more detailed. They could have added maybe a little bit of lines or texture work on the frills area, but that's just me. Here we have is her belt. You can see painted silver around it, which looks decently painted. Here we have is her top area. We could see the black lines around her dress, which looks well. Here we have is her arm. It's a little bit hard to see actually at the bottom of her by her body area or torso area, but you can kind of see they also added detailed crease lines and stuff just like the bottom, but it's kind of hard to see it because it's covered. Here we have is her ring here on her left hand. You can see her hand sculpt actually goes in a little bit into her dress, or her dress arm sleeve. And yeah, it looks quite detailed. I don't know if the whole hand is sculpted, but it's probably just placed on halfway in. Here we have is her right hand, same thing as her left. You can kind of see they did sculpt a little bit of the arm into the sleeve, which is quite nice detail. You can see here on the side, same thing, texture work here. Could have maybe been a little bit more detailed, but it's just a flat white. But I do like they added the crease lines, which gives it a more realistic fabric look to it, rather than just a flat dress. Here's the top portion of her covering here. I don't know what you would call this. If there's a word for it, do put it below, because I'm not really, or maybe I'll look it up later. You can see the top portion of her dress area, which covers her main body. Again, it looks really well sculpted, but I feel like they could add a little bit more detail work to the gold section of it, but maybe that's just me being nitpicky. So here we have is her face, which honestly looks really good. You can kind of see here they painted it really well. You can kind of see her ears here, looks really well sculpted, and you can kind of see if she does have her earrings here, which are a little translucent. I know it's a little bit hard to tell, but you could see through it. It is connected to her ears, so do be really careful with it. Here's her hair, again just like that little crystal earring that she does have. It is actually translucent. Again, it's a little bit hard to show you guys the way it's translucent from the tips. Here's the back of the hair. You kind of see her twin tails here on the top. You can see the top sculpted. It looks a little bit detailed. You kind of see they gave it a little bit of lines around it. Again, her tips of her hair are flexible, but again, do be careful. I feel like if you flick this, you can accidentally break it, so just be really careful with it. But besides that, I think her face is the best painted around the whole body. You can see her another portion here on the top of her hair, which is swaying to the side. But again, like I said, her face looks really well painted. I really like the way it looks. It gives you a little smile there rather than a neutral face that she has. But besides that, it looks actually really great. Maybe they could have done a little bit more texture work on her clothing and fabric. But besides that, it's actually a pretty decent figurine. So let's just connect this to the base. Is Frieren's staff, as you can see here. As you can see here at the bottom, they did a little bit of a nice paint job here. They gave it kind of a metallic shine to it, or paint, as you can see here. The middle staff feels like a more plastic reddish material. It's quite flexible. Here's the little crystal that goes onto the fabric area here tied around her staff. Again, be really careful because I feel like you can actually break this part. So here we have is the top of her staff, which you can kind of see is this red gem here is not translucent, but it's actually quite reflective. You can kind of see my hand on it. And no, I'm not certain if this is two separate pieces glued on or it's just one piece glued onto the middle, because you can't see through it, but it's actually reflective. But it looks quite nice. You see the detail work here on the little fabric wrapped around the little cloth wrapped around the staff. Yeah, so besides that, I think when you connect, you gotta remove the little bottom piece of the staff to connect it to Frieren's arm. So besides that, let's just connect this to Frieren. So that should complete Frieren's 1/7 scale figure. So let's just move on to the next character, which is Fern. So here we have is Fern straight out of her packaging. As you can see here, just like Frieren, she does come wrapped with plastic and a little bit of more protection, which a little bit of styrofoam material on it. But besides that, there's not really much else to show you. Just like Frieren, it does come with two layers here. You can see here, this is the top layer, and at the bottom it does come with the little ring here that goes around Fern's base, just like Frieren. It is also wrapped with plastic to protect it during transit. So let's just remove all of this and see how it looks. So just like Frieren, the assembly instruction guide is actually a digital code, as you can see here. Just the same thing. It comes with Mandarin or simplified Chinese, Japanese, and English. But I will show you guys a more closer shot here of the QR code. You can see traditional Chinese. At the bottom you do get is simplified Chinese, so you can scan this as I'm showing you here and get the assembly instructions guide. Here is the English QR code. And just like I said before, it is a digital key where you can see here, or a digital code where you go on their website and do get the assembly instruction guide. So here's a snapshot of the section that does have Fern. As you can see here, this is the English version, so for mainly my English speaking audience. But as I showed you earlier, it does have the QR code in the beginning where you can scan it and go to your specified language. But again, there's not really too much to show. You can see how you connect it together, and this is also the section here where you do put them together, and also have the light up feature, which is sold separately. So I'm not gonna get too much into it because we already know. So we're gonna move on to Fern's base. So here we have is Fern's base, almost similar to Frieren's base. You do get its crystalline structure, but before that, here at the bottom, just like Frieren, it does have you can see information on the figurine at the bottom of the base. But there's one thing I did notice while looking at this. It is actually quite beat up and scratched up, as you can see here. And no, this was not me, because where I have this placed down is a cloth fabric, so I literally just took this out. As you can see here, it actually is quite scratched up and beat up. So I'm not certain if that was straight, or maybe this is just my figurine, but I don't know if my camera captures it. But you can see here, it's actually quite scratched up. I don't know what caused this. Maybe it was the plastic, but it's actually it's like really bad. So I'm not gonna go too much into it. You can kind of see it also translucent. As you can see at the bottom, we do connect as a white acrylic peg, just like Frieren's base. Here on the top is the same pattern that we do see in Frieren's base. As you can see, it's like almost like a zigzag pattern with a gold metallic paint over it. And you can see here we have this almost like a little bit of a watery effect. The same thing with translucent, because you can place this on top of a light to shine it and make the crystal structure glow. And you can see here the crystalline structure, which I'm not really certain. I think it's a little bit different. You can see here is the peg inserts where you do connect the Fern on top of. But in terms of the way the structure looks, I think this is a little bit different. You can see here at the back here is actually the connecting piece for Frieren's part. As you can see here, the crystalline structure I think is a little bit different. I'm not certain if it's the same pattern, but still there's quite unique design here. So let's just move on to the next piece of the figurine. So again, just like Frieren, we do get is this large golden ring. And it does have a pattern, which I think this is a little bit, the pattern shapes are a little bit different. So again, I'm not certain this is supposed to be text that you can read in the language of the characters in the show. But I'm not too familiar with that, so I think this is just a random pattern that it does have. There's random shapes and pattern that this thing does have, but besides that, it's actually quite painted decently. Here you can see the inside, no patterns on the inside, it's only the outside. So as I stated before, just like Frieren, this is actually quite flexible, but do be careful, because I feel like if you put too much stress on this, it will snap. Here we have is the little acrylic connection piece here, just like Frieren, where you do connect it into the base. And just like Frieren, it just sits on top of this little plastic. So do be careful when you are moving it around, because I think this will fall on you if you do move it without taking it out first. So let's just connect this to the actual base. So here we have is Fern. And again, just like Frieren, I did want to stay her paint on her face. Looked really good. But so we're gonna start here from the bottom of Fern's foot, or her boot area. As you can see here, just like Frieren, they did add a lot of texture work here in terms of crease lines. But it's quite simplistic. The paint looks really well painted, as you can see here. The bottom, just like Frieren, does have two large holes where it's insert holes for the pegs on the base. So there's not really much detail here at the bottom of her boots. But besides that, it's actually a little bit hard to tell if she has a bottom area there, but I did actually flash a light to it. It's a little bit hard to see, but I think there is a sculpt waist down there. But because it's all the way in, I can't really show you guys that on camera, but she does have a little waist area at the bottom there. So that's actually quite detailed. Here you can kind of see her fabrics also flowing with the wind, because they're all in the shard, so they're like a little floating posture. As you can see here, you can see the fabric around it looks well sculpted. You can kind of see they added a lot of details, such as these little creases around her what you call her long dress. You can see the black coat she does have around herself. Same thing, has a lot of texture work here. You kind of see where her bend, where she's bending her bottom area to slanted on the side, and they added a lot of you can kind of see creases. You can see 2 layerings. I'm not certain if they added more towards the bottom of her dress. It's a little bit hard to tell from this, the way it's angled, and obviously I'm not gonna break the figurine. Here you can kind of see her dress towards the top area. It looks well sculpted. You can kind of see they add a little bit of lines on it for her dress. Here we have is her hand postured. As you can see here, her left hand is more of a circular palm hand where you connect the staff into, and the other one's more open. Here's a close-up shot of her left hand. Here we can kind of see has her bracelet there, and her hand here is painted decently. You kind of see her nails are also painted a little bit of pinkish there. You can kind of see they did add a little bit of the sleeve on the inside of her black coat. Here at the bottom you do get is her hair. As you can see here, it's a little bit hard to show you it because but it is actually a little bit translucent from the tips of her hair, which are actually quite detailed. And here is her sleeve here for her right hand. You can kind of see it's open. Same thing as her left hand. You can kind of see they did add a little bit of a sculpt of her arm. And this hand here does have a little bit of an insert hole on it, but don't worry, once the staff is holding on, it's not going to be viewable. Here we have is her close-up shot of her face. Again, just like Frieren's very well painted face here, they actually sculpted her face actually pretty decently as well. She does have eyebrows, and it's a little bit hard to tell, but you can kind of see they're underneath her bangs. But I think this is the best example to show you that it's actually a little bit translucent, but so you can see from the tip of her bangs, you could see her eyebrows. So going around her hair here, you can kind of see her hair clip here on the back, which is a little bit decently painted. As you can see here is the top where you can kind of see a separation of her front bang area from her back hair. But besides that, here's a more closer shot here of her bottom hair. Again, the top of her hair isn't translucent, it's mainly more of the tips of the hair that's more of a translucent look to it. And just like Frieren, she is actually, her hair is actually quite flexible. But again, I do caution, don't really be flexing it too much because putting too much pressure on it will cause it to snap. But besides that, there's not really much else to show you. It's actually a little bit harder to show you much of the figurine because it is a little bit larger than Frieren's, and it's actually, her body's more covered than her. But it actually looks really well sculpted. I like the way it looks. So let's just connect this to her base and move on to the next part of the figurine. So as you can see here, this is Fern's staff, as you can see here. Compared to Frieren, which is a little bit more detailed, this one here is actually like almost made out of wood. Well, I mean, if you've seen the show, you'll know what's the significance with the staff. But you can kind of see it is wrapped with purple cloth around it. And this middle section here looks actually well detailed compared to like the rest of the staff. But they did add, you can see the insert peg right here on this tip of the staff. But I think they did a pretty decent job. Here in this tip of this little section, we do get as a little crystal, but again, do be careful with this side because you can accidentally snap it. But besides that, the staff stick looks decently painted. You can kind of see they added little lines here for it being wood, and the cloth here looks decently painted as well. It's actually, well, it's quite simplistic, but there's not really much to show you with this staff compared to Frieren, so it looks really well painted and sculpted. So let's just connect this to Fern and which will complete the figurine. And with that, that would complete Fern's 1/7 scale figurine. So let's just connect the two figurines together. So I do not have an LED light up that is required for this figurine, but I do have a separate LED, so I place it at the bottom to maybe give you an example of how the figurine will look when you do light it up from the bottom. As you can see here, the middle crystal structure is lighted up. Again, this is not the light up feature that it's required for the figurine. This is just an extra light up that I did have. And here it does get, well, this is the bonus version that does come with this acrylic standee, which comes with the two characters in the art that they're actually representing in this sculpt. I'm not really going to take this out, but it's actually just an acrylic standee that you do get for the figurine. But this figurine is based off this art, as you can see there. But that should give you an example of how the crystalline structure should light up. Alright guys, so that was DesignCOCO's Cross Madhouse's 1/7 scale PVC figure of the characters Frieren and Fern, Anime Anniversary Edition. So all in all, I gotta say is, I'm a little bit mixed of how the figurine looks. Don't get me wrong, I really love the way they have these pieces that you can connect together. And also the little ring that goes around the base, and also the way they sculpted the characters. It feels like a centerpiece for a collection where you have it there displayed, and it looks really great. But it could be just me being a little bit nitpicky. Maybe they could have added a little bit more detail, such as on the fabric of Fern, and a little bit more detail paint on the frills of Frieren's dress, and maybe a little bit more texture work on their boots. But again, I really do love the way the hair, the tips of the hair looks a little bit translucent, and also the paint job on both of the characters' face looks really great. But again, I don't really think you need to get this piece specifically to really, or if you only plan on getting one figurine to represent the series, I think this one here is a nice centerpiece to have. But like I said before, there's actually other figurines you could get that are a lot cheaper than this one. Just like the Good Smile Company one, where they do have Frieren, which looks actually really nice, which I'm not sure if I'm gonna get that one or not, but well, I don't know yet. This one here is supposed to be Anime Anniversary Edition, which I think the anime only been out for like a year, so I don't know why, but I don't really think that was really necessary, but I guess that's them. But again, if you have not watched Sousou no Frieren, it's an interesting show. I'm not gonna super praise it, and I'm not gonna belittle the show. Well, it's an entertaining show, so if you enjoy anime for being anime, I recommend the show. Just don't get your expectations too high, and don't have it too low. Just enjoy the show. But personally, I enjoyed the show and I really like it. So I don't want to keep making the video too long, so I'm gonna leave you guys off with the figurine rotating in 360 and other angles of the figurine. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
And you alright? Can you hear me? 誰もいない線路沿いをなぞってく
げさに泣いて笑ってほしくて鮮明で痛い思い出を抱きしめてるさよならよりずっと大切な言葉で伝えたいんだありふれてでも特別でほらこの目じゃなければ見えなかったものがどうして溢れてくだからもう一度生まれ変わろうともまた私はここを選ぶんだろうだからあなたとまた巡り合ったらもう離さない今を選ぶんだろう約束なんてなくても孤独に迷う日でもその涙だって大丈夫きっとよがけるよ And I'm alright Yeah I hear you 伸びた髪を風がからかってる全部意味があるよ立ち止まった日々も今さら分かってあなたに追いついたよほらこの目じゃなければ見えなかったものがどうして溢れてくだからもう一度生まれ変わろうともまた私はここを選ぶんだろうだからあなたとまた巡り合ったらもう離さない今を選ぶんだろうどこにいても笑ってみせて目を閉じればいつも歩き出した私を見ててせめて会いたいよなんて言わないからねえ今日だけは思い出していいかなだからあなたとまた巡り合ったらもう迷わない今を選ぶんだろう約束なんてなくても孤独に迷う日でもこんなに胸が痛いのはあなたといた証かな絶対なんてなくてもいつでも届いてるからその涙だって大丈夫きっとよがけるよ I'm whispering a lullaby for you to come back home 私を守るこの名前を優しく呼んだその声が一人寂しく目を閉じるよあなたを包んで柔らかなその手忘れるよ結ぼう夜を越えて花が満ちてあなたのもとへ帰るでしょううねりを裂いて闇をほどいて夢の中は濁らず青く続く道を 知り